The movie starts with a couple, James and Em Foster, waking up in their hotel room. They are on vacation in a small Croatian town of Litolka and staying in a luxury resort. Waking up in the morning, both of them look outside the hotel, then they go for breakfast, and they see a group of locals preparing for an event called the Summoning, and many of them wear grotesque masks as part of the tradition. A while later, James joins Em, and Em shares a meal, but James seems not interested. After having breakfast, James watches a race event, and a young woman named Gabby Bauer approaches him. She tells James that she's a fan of his book that James wrote many years ago, and she invites him to have dinner with her and her husband Albin. In the evening, both couples meet in a restaurant. Albin is an interior designer and Gabby is a commercial actor. Em runs a publishing company, and she's a wealthy woman, and James relies on her money. Gabby shows her acting there. After that, James dances with Gabby, where he has a strange feeling about her. The next day, James and Em talk outside the hotel. Em feels worried when she knows that Litolka is a poor country and has a high level of crime, especially against foreigners. She asks James not to go with the strange couple, but James thinks they're good people. Then, they meet Gabby and Albin, who take them on a drive to the countryside, despite the strict rules that guests aren't allowed to leave the resort. The couple spend the afternoon at the beach. James goes to urinate behind a tree when suddenly Gabby grabs him and proceeds to give him a manual stimulation, and leaves after satisfying him. At night, the drunk couple begins driving back to the resort. James is driving when suddenly the car's headlights start flashing. James gets distracted and accidentally runs into a local resident. Everyone comes out to check the man and finds him dead. James says they have to call the police, but Gabby insists that they can't do that because the country is corrupt and they will torture them and rape his wife. James agrees to her and moves the body off the side of the road. Then, they get back with Albin driving. The following day, James finds the police knocking on his door. They arrest him for hit and run. James and his wife are taken down to the police station, where James meets Detective Thresh. He tells James that the car he was driving was given to them by Thresh uncle, but for his own benefit he tells him to lie during the interrogation and say that they stole the car. Thresh explains that the punishment for crimes like hit and run is death, by the family's eldest son killing the perpetrator to protect the family's honor. However, Thresh offers James an option to survive by cloning a doppelganger for him that goes down for his crimes, as this is a policy in Litolka for wealthy visitors. James agrees to go through with it. Then, Detective Thresh gets him to sign a paper and takes some money out of his card and gives it to them. The next day, James goes through the procedure. He enters a pool that contains a red liquid. He experiences disturbing visions and hallucination, including Gabby walking naked around him. Moments later, Em wakes James up at the police station. Then, they both come down and meet Detective Thresh. Thresh shows his doppelganger, which looks exactly like him, and tells him that he must witness the execution. James gets scared when the doppelganger opens his eyes. Later, we see James' doppelganger, and James is sitting on the other side. Then, a boy steps forward and starts stabbing the doppelganger in the stomach. Em is horrified by the whole incident, especially since the doppelganger is begging her to help him. After that, she decides to leave immediately, but James pretends to lose his passport as an excuse to stay. He tells her to return to America without him, and he will be back in a few weeks. The next morning, James extends his stay at the resort and meets Gabby again. Gabby explains everything to him because she knows everything about what happened to him and about the unique legal system in this country. Gabby takes James to meet Albin and other wealthy tourists, Charles, Jennifer, Dr. Modern and Bex, who have been convicted of major crimes in this country and have had made doubles for their crimes. They commit different crimes and pay to watch their doubles get slaughtered. At night, the group leaves wearing scary masks from earlier to break into the home of a wealthy couple. They find the owner with his mistress and tie them up. Gabby asks James to kill the owner, but James can't do it because he never killed anyone before. Suddenly, another guest comes to shoot at them, causing Gabby to start shooting back and killing the other guests, and Albin gets shot in the leg. So all the guests return to the hotel. The next day, everyone is in jail and Detective Thresh enters and says, this time they have crossed the limits. Then, officers catch them and tie them up and take them to execution. It turns out that they made doubles for each of them, so they sit back and watch the doubles being executed as if they were watching a show. After that, James returns to his hotel room to find him still there. Disgusted by his decision to stay at the resort, he coldly tells her to run back to her father. The next day, Gabby meets him on the beach and kisses him, then, she shares a drug with him, so after that, they make love. The group tells him that the reason why they can't get him a new passport is Detective Thresh, so they decide to kidnap him for that. They manage to bring him while his head is covered with a bag. James brutally beats the man, until he takes off his mask and discovers that it's one of his own doppelgangers, which shocks him. Everyone starts laughing at James and he finds this very strange, so he goes to lock himself in the bathroom. They called him out, but now he doesn't want to do that anymore. He grabs his passport and boards the bus to run off. Gabby and her group chase the bus, and she starts shooting at it to force James out. They make him walk in front of their car, while Gabby is sitting on the front of it and drinking. She starts teasing James by saying she's never read his book, and she reads one of the many bad reviews on his book. James tries to run but Gabby shoots him in the leg. He walks as much as he can until he collapses near a farm. He experiences terrifying hallucinations such as the collision victim's eldest son coming to choke him, and visions of M joining the group to bully him. He tries to leave when Gabby and her group find him. They force him to fight his double, who's acting like a dog. James initially refuses until the double attacks him like a wild animal, so James brutally beats him to death. Later, James calls M apologizing for his actions, and telling her that he's coming back home. The next day, he takes a bus with the rest of the group to the airport, but while waiting at the airport, James changes his mind and returns to the resort. We see him sitting by the pool in the pouring rain, completely devastated by the experience.